Well, hello and good morning. I've been asked a question about Albuquerque. I guess the governor, she wanted to stop some of the gun violence, and so was talking about not carrying guns. Now, and was asked about the high crime and stuff that's going on. Well, that's why I don't live in Albuquerque. That's why I chose to live where I live, where it's much calmer. You know, I don't need that big of a place. Where I live, it's very quiet. The neighborhood I'm in, that I chose to live in. And I go out, I get my groceries, I do what I need to do. If where I live, we've got one mall, and the mall is just basically pretty empty. So if you want something, you got to go to El Paso or, up to Albuquerque. Neither place is a place I would want to live because both of them have too much crime going on. Now you can find anything you want in El Paso. Huge city, tons of stuff, unlike where I live. But I chose here because it is quiet. Now, don't get me wrong, there is some crime. I have looked up and seen there has been some crime and things that happen here. But pretty much in the area I live in, it's not a boiler pot of crime. And again, that's why I chose here, because it is a quieter area. And I just don't want to be down in an area where there's a lot of drugs and a lot of crime and a lot of that type of thing going on. I try to avoid those areas. So, but let's look. The question was about they want to impeach the governor because of what she said about guns. So we've got at the center of it some hidden things. We have, the wanting to stand in wealth and power, okay, the good life. And the challenge and what's going on now is this new thing that they're looking at, the new opportunity. Her challenge is to hold on to where she's at and what she's got going there. Again, it's about holding on to power, holding on to. So really, I think that those of more wealth and power have this opportunity, and I think they're going to defend her because they don't want the crime. Above it, we have the wheel of karma, the wheel, what's turning. We have some manipulations going on of wanting to end some of this stuff. There are those that may want to end things with her. Underneath of it, the foundation, we have a Pandora's box. Some things are being worked on, and some things are wanting to be blocked with ending some of this. So this is really kind of a mixed bag. Okay, kind of a mixed bag. We're going to pull some other cards and get some clarification. Because again, above it, we have the wheel turning about manipulations and kind of maybe stopping some of this stuff. And the foundation's a Pandora's box that's being worked on. And there are those that, want to block things, that don't want to hear it. The challenge is blocking some of this stuff. And her holding on to power, continuing to hold and going into it. Again, wealthy, those of power, see an opportunity, working on some change, okay? So let's see what we have underneath of it. There are those charging forward. based on their desires to overturn, because this affects their world. And so there is an offering now of charging forward as quick as they can, but kind of out in the cold when they don't like what's happening, and it comes to justice, and it comes to the seat of power of government. Okay, so let's break this down. Daily happenings, grounded. It's about wealth, power, the good life, wanting to have the good life, working on some new opportunity. She is holding on to this, and again, trying to hold on to power. We have a bit of being out in the cold with things. Okay, so mental realm, wanting to end some of this violence. I think that she wants to end it. There are those that block that don't want to hear it, and so they are charging forward with this attempted action. Emotionally, she wants to keep the lid on the emotions of this, the Pandora's box. We have those that are going to try to sell their desires, what they're selling and offering up, because they don't like the things that are happening at the moment. So let's get to the nitty-gritty and see if we can figure this out. Oh, and they have the action going forward. But we have, this is the card of karma, the wheel, and some secrets taking place, some hidden things about wanting to make a radical change, to hang things up when it comes to world, but there will be justice when it comes to government position. So I think she'll be fine. There may be those in wealth and power that could see this as an opportunity to get rid of her. That could be, but the overwhelming majority want the violence to end. Okay, so I don't see her losing her position, but I think that there are those that are supportive of her, and then there's some in wealth and power, the uber right, that might just see this as an attempt to try to get rid of her. Not that they like crime and violence, but this is just another tool in their hands to try to get rid of a democratic person that wants to, curtail some of the gun violence. So let's go ahead and look at the violence that's happening in Albuquerque or El Paso, etc. What's going on with that? Well, we have manipulations. We have things happening, maybe wanting change. They're still trying to get away with this stuff, with their actions. Okay, so there are those that don't want to give up that ability. There are those that are unhappy with what's going on, the harvest, and are wanting to hold on to some reality. And then when underneath of it we have the arguments of manipulation, etc. Above it we have the karma card again for what's going on with all this stuff. We have now, this can be the double-edged sword. That can either, there are those holding on to higher things, and that's the message and the action they're putting forward. And then there are those of wealth and power that want to have these repugly uglies in power, basically. Yeah. And it's about holding on to power. Arguments, manipulations with all of it. The foundation, don't like what's happening, what's being held to. There are arguments with it, above it. We have the wheel turning when it comes to those of the uber right in that faction holding on to power and still trying to manipulate and get away with this because of these message of action. Their message is, again, kowtowing and catering to this lower element of the second right amendments and drama. Okay. So there are those that are using that to their own destruction, really. I mean, to the destruction of society. They use that to secure their position, especially the uber right, the MAGA crowd. You know, the churches that say, yeah, love Jesus and carry an AK-47 because we know that's what he would do. They don't want to hear the Sermon on the Mount anymore. That's weak. So they are exchanging the true message of Christ for a strong man again. Okay? They would be ones, if Christ were here on trial, they'd be screaming for Barabbas to be let go again and string up Christ because he's weak and ineffective. Okay? And that's a really sad thing to see. So are there going to be any changes coming in the future? What can you show me about the future with this gun violence and all of this stuff happening? We have strongmen. Okay. We have the uber right. Endings. Okay. The death knell, maybe. Let's look and see what else we have. Between the uber right and the strong man, we have the fly in the ointment for them, which would be democracy. So this is a huge issue. And democracy wanting to keep the lid on this Pandora's box of craziness for the family. Okay? So, you know, again, it's showing the two factions. We have the strong man trying to convince the family through this manipulation that they need to have armament and stuff. And then we have the Democratic, which want to move it forward in a better direction. So above it, we have what's moving forward, democracy moving forward. Wanting to, again, to start to take action, have their plan, they're ready to move because of the nightmare scenario for families, for families, okay? So it's looking like Democrats going forward, they're looking at the uber right and they're starting to move and wanting to take action to make things better. When it comes to gun violence and all of these nightmare scenarios that families are having to endure now because of the rampant violence. So they're trying to figure a way to move forward, keep the lid on all this stuff, and putting an end to this violence and chaos. So it looks like in the future there may be trying to bring some more laws in place that would protect families. And, nobody is, and this is the thing the uber right wants to do, this fear tactic. They're going to take away all your guns. No, they're looking at stopping weapons of war, AK-47s. When they, made the Constitution, they had muskets. You know how long it takes to load a musket? It's a long process. They were not talking about AK-47s. People have a right to something like that. If they would have known that was going to happen, they would have banned it back then. Yes, you have a right to have something for protection. But an AK-47 is a weapon of war. It has nothing to do with actually a weapon you want to keep in your home for home protection. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to leave that here. Thank you for your question, and we'll see you online.